Welcome to the Stranger Than Fiction podcast. I'm Chase.
And I'm Adam. On this one, we are continuing our Halloween spooky themed topics and talking about fear. We've talked in the past about things that many people are afraid of, like vampires and last week ghosts. But what exactly is fear all about, and why are you, Chase, afraid of everything?
I'm not afraid of everything. During the course of this week, up until this episode, I was thinking about the things that I'm genuinely scared of.
That's good. We're probably going to talk a lot about those things.
And I think I'm kind of a Navy SEAL, I think, because I'm not scared of a lot of things.
That's bullshit.
But continue on. I digress.
Last week on Ghosts.
It should tell you deep down in your soul that I'm terrified of so much.
So first, I guess some basics. Fear is necessary in order for all of us to survive.
It's how fear was created, I guess, right? The person who invented fear had this in mind.
Your brain is basically like a orchestra conductor.
Mm.
And instead of manipulating the woodwinds and the brass, percussion, the piccolos, and strings to create a musical masterpiece, it uses the thalamus.
Ooh.
I don't know if I pronounced that right. Sensory cortex, the hippocampus, amygdala, and then ultimately the hypothalamus to scare the ever-loving crap out of you.
I think it's hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. Wrong syllable.
That's what I said.
No, you didn't.
Hypothalamus.
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 Okay, well, let's just clarify something here on the front end. There's a lot of words I'm probably going to mispronounce in this episode.
It's just funny. Like, I just personally take a lot of joy in that because you're always correcting me, mispronouncing and misspelling everything. So
okay,
I like it when it's the shoes
hypothalamus,
on
as I'm going to pronounce it, is responsible for your fight or flight response, which we'll probably talk some more about. But basically, again, your brain does a fuckload of shit that all works in concert together. One of those things that it does is create this kind of fear that helps you survive.
Yeah, and everybody's felt that, right? If you're 33 years old, as we are, I don't think there's ever been a time, regardless of what you're scared of, truly scared of, that you haven't felt that, like, my heart's beating faster and my body's tensing up. I think we've had a couple instances on the podcast where I've had that, so.
I would say that everyone in the world, except for maybe 400 people that we'll talk about later,
okay,
have felt that.
Interesting.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
According to National Geographic, we're born with only 2 innate fears. Do you know what they are?
Fear of falling.
Yeah.
And...
Are you looking this up right now while we're talking?
I'm staring right at you right now.
You're staring at the computer, which you could be having a Google screen up.
Fear of falling. I have my hands up.
Okay.
And fear of loud noises.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Chase did his homework.
This face might look dumb, but sometimes it pulls stuff out.
So are you afraid of either of those things?
I mean, I think, yes, just by what we said, that everybody's sort of fearful of those two things. It's ingrained in everybody for the most part. So I would say I am more scared of... Well, I think it depends on the circumstance for loud noises. If I'm sleeping, lately Ellie hasn't been sleeping, and she will wake up in the middle of the night, open her door, and scream for us. Yes, that loud noise creeps me the fuck out. But if it's a loud noise at a baseball game, maybe not so much, right?
Yeah, if you're expecting it or not.
Well, isn't that what like your brain teaches you over time which loud noises to be afraid of?
Yeah, but it's circumstantial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like through experience. But you have to learn that because as a baby, all the loud noises. And then over time, you learn which ones are dangerous and which ones aren't.
Or if you're Brick from Anchorman. Loud noises.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Allison doesn't like Will Ferrell.
That fell short, huh? Okay, whatever. Continue on. But fear of falling, no, I don't really have that big of a fear of falling. I don't really do much where I would have that fear. Except, and I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but that little, like, jolt you do when, like, as you fall asleep?
Yeah.
Sometimes, do you know what that's from?
Fear.
So the theory behind that is that when we used to sleep on, like, ledges as cavemen and stuff on, like, cliffs and things like that, our body would jerk to make sure that we weren't, sort of falling off, or it would jerk when we were falling off. And that just sort of is a carryover from, our caveman days where we used to sleep outside and sleep on cliffs and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I said. Fear.
Yeah, just a little snippet, that's all.
So we talked a little bit about the brain already. So there's a lot of scientists that worked with mice, scared the shit out of them,
End of story.
That was the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
They scared the shit out of the mice.
Boo. Yes.
So they trained mice to fear a certain sound. Okay, that was going to preclude an electrical shock. And so then what they would do is they would study those rat brains, and whenever that sound was given for the, you do a sound and then you do electrical shock, sound, electrical shock, you just condition the mice in that way. Over time, you get to the point where you play the sound and then the mice brains would start freaking out, expecting that electrical shock. And so the researchers discovered through this kind of technique that certain groups of neurons inside the amygdala were encoded with memories of these fearful experiences. And it was basically like a library storing these past events that they've learned were fearful.
So there's an I don't know if it's the same study or if it's a different study where they did, I think it was smells.
Yep.
Where they did it with smells and then did the shock, and that actually went from generation to generation to generation in the mice as well, right?
Exactly. So
generational trauma is a real thing.
Their fear can be inherited, to your point, right? So more torture of mice. So we
mice.
Shock them, and you before the shock, like instead of a sound, you kind of pump this smell that you're talking about. The study that I saw used cherry blossom. I don't know if that's the same study that you were looking at, and like you said, they found that the descendants, at least 2 generations down from the tested mice, kind of connected the smell of cherry blossoms to something bad.
Yeah.
That kind of fucks me up a little bit.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Because then, like, I was thinking this through when I was reading this. I was thinking as to, like, the one thing that I am truly scared of, even though you think it's everything, is snakes. I cannot rationalize it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm scared of snakes, which I guess would be I can't rationalize it. But once I read this, I was thinking, like, what happened to, like, my great-grandpa with a snake? Mm-hmm. Where, like, it is just ingrained. Because I can't think of an instance in my childhood or as far back as I can remember or, sort of pull up in my memory of an instance where I should be scared of a snake because of X incident. I don't know why I'm scared of snakes.
I think it's a common thing. Like, there's a podcast I listened to. Was it Invisibilia?
Are they going to sponsor us?
I mean, probably not. But it's still a good podcast that had a whole. But you should listen to it. The
Stranger Than Fiction
one
is a good fucking podcast too.
Well, okay. So I'm just.
Are they mentioning Stranger Than Fiction on their podcast?
I was actually going to talk about Invisibilia again.
Later.
It's a different one.
It is a good episode though, because they talk about
and snakes.
Yeah, how the movement of snakes can't be fully explained by science. The way they're able to slither without any kind of like appendage.
That's part of it. Is I don't think anything should travel as fast as a snake does without fucking legs. That's all. I mean, that's the rationalization part of me. But
so worms are okay, and eels.
Yeah, well, eels are an exception because they're in the water, and everything generally goes faster in the water. It just slides through the water. But how does it? We don't have to get into this, but like, how does a fucking snake move through the grass as fast as it does? Just like wiggling. I don't understand. And worms don't go like fast.
So the fact that you don't understand makes it scary?
No, the fact that I don't understand is me rationalizing it because that's the only thing that makes sense as to why I'm scared of snakes. Otherwise, I cannot figure it out. But now I'm thinking that maybe somebody in my past, in my family, had they got eaten by an anaconda or something. And that is why I hate snakes.
Well, if he got eaten by an anaconda, I don't think he would have been
able to pass that.
Yeah, but he got
that on to you. Yeah,
I think he got spit out.
Oh, yeah. He got spit out.
Yeah,
that would be pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I know. So that's why I think it's embedded in the Ferris family brain now.
I wonder if that's like when people talk about past lives and stuff. Like, I know there's people that believe that we're reincarnated and that we come, we've had previous lives and stuff. But like, that makes more sense to me. The generational trauma and like holding on to things from your ancestors.
I think we carry everything over, like everything that we have done. If we're getting pretty meta at this point, I think everything that we're doing in this life is because of what our ancestors have done in a previous life, right? I mean, that's what evolution is.
Yeah, and fear can be, to the point here, fear can be inherited. It can also be contagious. Our noses can pick up chemical signals of fear, and it can really trigger other brain synaptic firings and result in the activation of the hypothalamus. Think, panic in a crowd where something happens and then this kind of fear and terror spreads across a large group of people.
Yeah. It's sort of like pheromones, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I get scared, I stink all of a sudden, and people get my scent of like, oh shit, that big dude's scared.
Is
I
that
might
what
be
that
scared
smell
too.
is all
yeah,
the time?
that's the smell. That's all that it is, guys.
Fear, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're afraid of everything, so you're always smelling like
It's
fear.
fear. I'm just so scared. I'm so scared all the time. Yeah, that's it.
Well, and don't they say that animals can pick up on your fear too from your scent, like dogs and horses and stuff?
Dogs for sure.
Well, I read somewhere bears can smell menstruation.
Well, that's true.
That's from Anchorman too. I'm just gonna.
What does that have to do with it? That's blood. That's completely different than fear.
I was just making a joke. I was trying to keep the Anchorman references alive.
You know, sharks can smell blood too.
I'm just kidding, guys. Jeez, thought it was a funny segue.
Anyway,
The other kind of thing that I guess is interesting. Well, there's lots of interesting things about fear, but I guess the opposite of fear is actually love. Do you know why?
My guess is that the chemicals that get expunged from the brain when you are in love or feel love counterbalance the fear chemicals that happen. Is that anywhere accurate?
Yeah, that'd be pretty accurate.
Okay, cool.
So we're gonna go back to our favorite part of the brain, the hypothalamus.
You got to stop, dude. You got to fix it. Fix your brain.
It creates a chemical, like you said, oxytocin, that has a lot of different effects, but it's been credited with giving new mothers the courage to act where other people would typically freeze. And obviously nature, loads women up with this hormone, during childbirth. There's all these kind of stories about women lifting up cars because their children are at risk or whatever. But this oxytocin is a feel-good chemical. Basically, this oxytocin, which is related to love, is really what helps dampen fear. And so that's why the opposite of fear is love. Love can help you become a less fearful person.
So, hope to God that you're attracted to the person that breaks into your house with a knife, because that will make you be able to...
No, Chase, that's lust, not love.
How
the
do you know?
love of your child sleeping in the next room is going to give you the courage
Yeah.
to fight off the attacker.
The judgment of my family when they realized that I crapped my pants when somebody broke into the house is also a fear of mine.
Well, there you go. That works too.
So, I don't know what counterbalances that.
You need a lot of love.
I guess.
A lot of love. Whole lot of love.
A lot of loves. Huggies, I think.
So, you talked about snakes
Yeah.
as one of your fears.
The only fear. I have two fears. I have two fears that I can name.
And so fear also can distort your senses.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're on a little walk, you're mowing your grass, whatever,
Mhm.
and you come upon a happy little snake.
This has happened. This is the only instance where I ever see snakes.
Okay.
But go ahead.
That snake physically is only 4 inches long.
No way. Never
Okay.
seen a snake 4 inches long.
When you look at that snake, that's actually 4 inches long. How long do you think that snake will look?
12 to 14 feet.
Exactly. So fear can distort your senses.
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please.
Because it's very much a very to the situation you described, a real life story. So
You came across a 14-foot
I
snake. in your yard.
I'll tell you. I was mowing the grass, and I was weed whacking at this point. And like I have the downspouts. I may have told this story already, but that I have like the downspouts and then like the plastic things that go under the downspouts as to, I don't know what the fuck they do, but they
shoot
like,
water away
yeah,
from your
they get the
foundation.
water away from the foundation,
Like 2
yeah.
feet. Yeah.
It doesn't really work, yeah. But so I accidentally, as I'm weed whacking, and this is midsummertime, so I'm weed whacking, and I accidentally kicked that one of them over on the side of the house, and this little, I swear to you, it was a 4-inch snake. Like it was a baby rat snake, I think. Just off of the research that I did after the fact, because I could have swore it was going to kill me, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't poisonous and we didn't have to sell the house. But it was a 4-foot snake, and it was like all coiled up under this thing, and it like came at started
like a cobra.
yeah, it was like
reared up on
it was a cobra. And in that instance, I swear to you, in the next town over, they could have heard me yell, or they could have heard me yelling "fuck." Like, I'm so glad that nobody was there to witness that, because It was a 4-inch snake that I had the reaction of, holy fuck, there's a dinosaur in my backyard. Like, that was the reaction that I had. So I've just a general fear of snakes. I don't know what it is. Okay, so I didn't perceive it to be any longer, but I did perceive the threat to be much greater than it probably was. Yeah. So I guess that's my distortion of reality.
Yeah, I mean, fear can distort your senses in lots of different ways. I think that there's similar examples that I could cite with Allison, our producer
what are you
here.
Talking about me for?
She has a significant fear of spiders.
No, I don't.
Centipedes.
Centipedes, yes. Spiders, not so much.
And
if we want to go back to spiders, hold the fucking phone for a second.
I don't have a fear of spiders.
Okay. Then why did I hear you yelling like a child outside? Because you ran into the spider web that I warned you about, and you thought that tarantula-like creature was on your body.
Okay, so this is completely different. I'm not afraid of spiders.
You're afraid of spiders?
Should have heard it. It was so
what guy
fucking
isn't gonna
funny.
What guy isn't going to scream when you run into a spider web, though?
But did you see, Chase, did you see the pictures I posted online about these spiders on our house? Yeah. So the biggest one of them had built her web right in our back door.
Doesn't matter.
And I told Adam that it was there. Yeah. He was going outside.
And I forgot. And I
was
walked
like, watch out
it.
for the spider.
Yeah.
And then I'm upstairs in bed and I hear him yelping.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so I'm not afraid of spiders generally, but I don't like spiders crawling on me. And so I knew there was a spider there. I had forgotten the web was there. Mm-hmm. When I walked into the web, guess what happened? I fucking remembered that there's a big ass spider in this web. And yeah, that wasn't a pleasant experience. Yeah. That doesn't mean that I'm afraid of spiders.
No,
well,
I'm
you
right
called
there.
me out for being afraid, and I'm not really. It's centipedes.
I'm right there with you, though. And here's the thing. I think that every spider web is going to lead to a black widow spider. That's so. Like I'll take it one step further, where it wasn't the fear of that spider then crawling on me is a for sure thing for me too. I feel you right there. But then I take it one step further, and if I run into a spider web, or if there's a spider web on the deck somewhere, I automatically assume that there's a poisonous spider in that web somewhere, and I'm not going anywhere near it.
Okay, so it sounds like you're afraid of spiders. But
I'm not afraid of spiders, though.
The point here is that fear distorts your senses, and you can exaggerate the threat, or see something as larger, or again more dangerous than it actually is.
So what were you about to say about me?
That you see spiders or centipedes and you scream, and you call for me to come kill it, and you say, "Oh my god, this thing's so fucking big! Oh fuck!" And then I come in.
With centipedes, that is
true. And it's a little tiny little fucker.
The centipede thing is true, not spiders. I've gotten a lot better with spiders. Back in the day, I used to be terrified. Okay. But I let Charlotte live in our doorway for like 3 days.
That's all I'm saying, though. That's all I'm saying. It can distort your senses.
Yeah, centipedes are the fucking worst. They have 100 legs. That's not natural. They move at a speed faster than I can like catch up with them. They're terrifying, and they bite.
Jesus, you even lift, bro? You can't catch up to a centipede.
They're quick,
okay,
dude.
Have you? You know what? We're just going to save some up for Chase to battle when he comes down to visit next time.
That's fine.
So, Chase, have you ever heard, we talked a lot about the brain. We talked a little bit about genetics and inherited genes and shit, but have you ever heard of a gene called Stathman?
Is that any relation to the Jason Statham gene?
Jason Statham would have none of this gene.
Oh, okay.
Because the Stathman
yes.
gene, some studies have basically kind of linked it as like the fear gene. So they've been able to show, again, mice, our favorite little lab animal that gets tortured, that lacked this gene, were very brave in like typically dangerous situations like open spaces. They even took like electrocutions better than their cohorts that had this particular Stathman gene. If you have this gene...
Sorry, there's a stink bug. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye and it moved, and I was thinking about centipedes. It's hiding under the tapestry thing. You don't have to kill it. It startled me.
Wow, that was like almost like planned.
I swear it wasn't.
But anyway, we were talking about Stathman, the Stathman gene.
Yeah. Don't break this conversation up.
Yeah.
What's your problem with Stathman?
Nothing. Continue, Professor.
That was my whole point. There's a particular gene that is essentially linked to fear.
Did you say that you said in the beginning there was 400 people. Do they lack this gene?
No.
Is that what you were hinting at?
No, I'm
this
not.
is
I'm not
another-
saying that
okay.
people without this gene experience no fear. No, that's
Okay.
not what I'm saying. They're just less prone to fearful situations than
Yeah.
people with the Stathman gene.
Yeah, I probably don't have that gene.
The 400 people that I alluded to is a completely different type of genetic disease or disorder called Urbach-Wiethe disease.
Say
You know-
that 10 times fast.
Sure, you're saying that right?
No, I'm not sure that I'm saying that right. But it's super rare. Again, about 400 reported cases. This genetic disorder causes a lot of different things, including a hoarse voice, lesions. It also
Wait,
hoarse
are we
voice.
just gonna breeze past horse voice?
A hoarse voice.
What the
Like
fuck is
your
a
voice
horse
is
voice?
hoarse. Like
Oh, I get it. Okay.
No, you just all you can say is nay. That's all you can say.
I was genuinely I was confused by that. But thank you for the clarity.
You have a hoarse voice. You have lesions on the skin. And you have an inability to feel fear due to the disease's damaging of the amygdala and other parts of the brain.
Why do you get lesions?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on Urbach-Wiethe disease.
Oh. Okay.
I just stayed at a Holiday Inn last night.
Oh, boom. Roasted.
Allison's looking at
I
me
don't
funny.
get it.
You never seen those commercials? That's like a classic joke.
So far we've had 2 Anchorman references and a Holiday Inn reference. This is going strong.
You know, there's an interesting thing about Urbach-Wiethe is that 400 cases reported, and about a quarter of them have been reported in the same country.
Which country?
Ooh, hold on. I don't know the answer, but I want to think this through for a second. I'm gonna say the Ukraine. Or Ukraine. It's not the Ukraine, it's Ukraine.
The correct answer is not the Ukraine. It's actually South Africa. And many people believe this is due to the population genetic effect called the founder effect. Okay? And so
Okay, let me guess what that is.
Okay.
Let's just keep going. No, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
So this is when a new population is established by a very small number of individuals.
Oh, so lots of incestual.
Yes, correct. So you have a group that is already predisposed to a certain genetic condition or carrier, and then you have
Lots of cousins kissing cousins.
yeah. So you get this kind of you concentrate the population with that particular,
Like the Lannisters.
like the Lannisters, correct.
Nerds.
And to your point earlier about Invisibilia, there is another, I think, really good podcast by NPR that actually talks in depth about an individual with Urbach-Wiethe disease. Highly recommend you check that one out if it sounds
Because
interesting
it's
to you.
super dangerous. I mean, not to like spoil the episode or anything, but people without fear put themselves in a lot of scary situations.
Yeah, if you don't have fear, you don't know
To like avoid
to
the guy
not
with the
touch
knife
the
and-
fire or to not walk down the dark alley at
Yeah,
night.
but well, not touching the fire is not probably a bad example because you still feel pain.
Yeah, you'll feel pain, but you're not afraid of it.
Are you afraid of pain, or is pain a different?
Like you could get bit by this snake, right? And then still not fear the snake and still approach the snake every time because you're not fearful of it and the snake will bite you every time.
You need to go listen to the Invisibilia
Truly.
I'm
episode.
not going to
it's so
listen to
good.
Invisibilia. I only listen to the Stranger Than Fiction podcast. That's it.
But Urbach-Wiethe disease is very, I think, fascinating. If you just actually think about living without fear, like some of the shit that you would do, it's just crazy.
What would you do with a life without fear? I mean, you wouldn't yelp at a spider web.
Correct. I wouldn't be afraid.
But I would challenge that. Like, I would challenge that that's not a fear. That's not a fear thing. That's a
Yes,
like,
it is.
No, that's like an uncomfortable thing, or like you don't want a fucking spider crawling on you.
Because you're afraid of the spider.
No, you're not afraid of the spider.
Yeah. Okay.
Then
So
why
are you
don't you want it
afraid
on
when
you?
you put a T-shirt on?
Yes,
No, you're lying to me.
you said I was afraid of everything. So
But like you put a shirt on, so
Yeah.
and you're not afraid of that because you know
It
it's
can't
not going to hurt
hurt
you.
you.
You're not afraid. So if you felt that same way about the spider would be on you. You would have no fear of it, just like the T-shirt.
okay, so let me ask you this, because there's an alternative disease or something where you don't feel pain. So
Okay.
essentially you couldn't be hurt. So then do you also not have fear because you can't get hurt?
No, I don't think you don't have fear because you can't get hurt.
Because
No.
you can fear things that don't hurt you. Like public speaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, but in the case of reaching into a fire, the example that you used. So if I don't have that fear gene that enables me to be fearful, then I'm not scared to reach into the fire. But if I don't have the pain receptors that's going to make me fearful, like that's going to hurt me,
if you don't
does that fear then go away?
If you don't have fear and you don't have pain, you're super fucked. I'm not debating that.
Yeah, you're just dead.
No, then you're a fucking X-Men.
Or that.
You can't feel pain and you have no fear.
So I would say, like, if you feel pain but you can't experience fear, you would not be afraid to do things until you do them, and then you would experience the pain, and then you would probably remember, hey, I probably shouldn't do that. But it's not because you're afraid of doing it or you're afraid of the pain, just you remember the pain.
Okay. No, it's kind of interesting, though. I mean...
But go listen to Invisibilia. It's a really interesting topic.
Not going to do it.
Well, and there's a couple different types of fear, right? Like we've talked about physical fears, and then there's psychological fears.
No, but I think all fear is psychological. I don't think you can have physical fear without it stemming from something psychological.
No, I mean, I think she's meaning physical in the sense that, hey, this thing is going to physically hurt me, versus psychological, like I'm afraid theoretically of public speaking. I'm not going to get physically hurt from doing this activity, but it's going to cause me stress and, emotional trauma. But I'm not going to be bruised or bleeding unless I'm a terrible public speaker and they're throwing shit at me.
Yeah. But don't those two things both stem from the same chemical releases?
Yeah, we're just saying that they're they're kind of different physical fears and psychological fears.
Well, to that point, according to Dr. Carl Albright, I have no fucking idea who Dr. Albright is, so we don't need to go any further than he's a credible source. But there are 5 types of fears. Do you want to take a stab at guessing them?
5 types of fears?
5 types of fears. Now, you're not going to be able to get them because they're kind of like... I mean, it's just... it's. So there's the fear of extinction.
Fear I'm going to die?
Just your general fears of like you're no longer going to be. You're not going to exist anymore. Yeah. That's where the heights, that's where the flying, the fatal diseases, all of these fears come from. And then there's the mutilation or bodily invasion fear. And that's where we're talking about the creepy crawlies. It's where we're talking about spiders and snakes, animals, anxiety about crowds, needles, all of that stuff as well.
Okay.
Got all those.
Number 3 is the loss of autonomy, where you have the fear of losing commitment. You have the fear of going into poverty, debilitating illness, aging, all of that stuff. So you're losing your ability to be autonomous in this world. That's the 3rd fear.
Fuck, I've got all of these.
You feel trapped and helpless?
I mean,
is that the 4th one?
No, that's part of the losing the autonomy. I was just trying to be a good friend. Just asking.
You feel trapped and helpless?
Do you feel trapped and helpless, Allison?
Let's not.
This sounds like an
Let's
infomercial.
Not do this therapy session.
Call
Do you feel trapped and helpless? Do you have anxiety about crowds, needles, and sometimes germs? Do I have a podcast for you? Invisibilia from NPR, whatever the fuck it's called. The 4th one, separation, abandonment, or rejection.
Got that one too.
Yeah. A friendship, doesn't last, a divorce happens, or a death happens to a loved one. And then the 5th one, the 5th and only, we're listing all the fears that anybody ever has. This is the 5th fear, humiliation, shame, and worthlessness. Nobody likes to fail. Nobody likes negative criticism, bullying, victimization, mistakes, public speaking, all of that stuff.
I mean, I wouldn't say nobody.
Nobody likes failure. I mean, I don't fucking care what your LinkedIn quotes say where failure is just the journey to truth or
within each failure you can learn something, Chase.
To walk 1,000 steps you have to walk 1 or something like that. Or
so I mean those were all very...
They're relevant, right? Yeah, I mean...
Did you also know that fear can literally kill you?
Yeah, of course. Well,
so you can be scared to death?
yeah, you have a fucking heart attack.
Yeah, pretty much.
It seems like in my fragile state of fatness and age, if I got too scared, I would die. And
exactly.
And I'm not going to lie to you that little 4-inch snake under the fucking thing almost killed me. I almost had a stroke, I think. My eye started to twitch, I think.
And so the reason why that happens is, again, your brain triggers that fight or flight response, and the body needs that extra strength for that fight or flight. And so the heart needs to beat stronger, and it injects calcium into the heart cells. If you can't calm down, or the shock is just like too overwhelming, the calcium and adrenaline keep pouring in, and yeah, you basically have a heart attack.
Yeah.
When we return, I will tell you how I literally killed something by fear.
Yep, I did too. Weird.
What did you
What
murder,
did you
Chase?
murder?
So here I am, mowing the grass.
Me
again.
too.
Me
too.
This is when we lived in Norwalk, back in Ohio.
Okay, this was just like 2 weeks ago for me.
Oh, okay. So lived in this duplex that had a shed and a pile of sticks and wood and shit next to it. I'm mowing the grass and I see this little fucking head pop up in the grass, and it's going to the shed where I'm trying to put the lawnmower away. So it's standing right in front of the door, looking at me. Can't put the lawnmower away. We're both looking at each other. It's about another 12 to 14 foot garter snake.
Okay, we did not kill the same thing.
Not the same thing.
We did not kill the same thing.
It's just staring at me. I literally stood there what felt like 4 days.
So this was a gardener cobra, because you're saying
this was, yeah. Well, you know how they pop up their head and like, what's going on, guys?
Stick their tongue out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was as fearful of me as I was of it. So we literally stood there for, I would say, 5 minutes, and it didn't move. You would have thought I was one of those fucking statue guys that was getting money on the side of the road. That's how still I was, because I'm like, this motherfucker's going to kill me. This is how I'm going to die. So I finally got up enough gumption to go and get a shovel, and I murdered it. I chopped its head off.
You didn't scare it to death.
Yeah, you killed it with a shovel.
Murdered it.
Oh, I didn't know we were talking about scaring something to death.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Oh.
Killing something by fear.
Well, I feel
everybody's killed a fucking snake. Jesus.
I feel like I would have died if I didn't kill it.
Okay, you killed something with a shovel. Okay. I killed something by fear alone.
Okay. Oh, wow. Go ahead, Hercules.
So I was also mowing the grass.
Uh-oh.
About 2 weeks ago.
Go ahead.
It had been too long. The grass was quite high.
Okay.
I went over a particularly thick patch of grass.
Okay.
And after I went over this patch,
oh no,
I saw a nest.
Oh.
And something moving within the nest.
I think I probably have a story about this too. But go ahead.
I stopped the mower.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked down, and it was a baby rabbit flailing its arms and legs around.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly scared. The way that it was acting, I thought maybe the mower blades had hit it, cut its head off, or cut a limb off. But I picked it up, searched it. There was no blood. The mower did not hit the rabbit.
It was a bloodless rabbit?
The mower did not hit the rabbit.
Oh.
So I brought it to Ollie to show him and gave it CPR.
No, you didn't give it CPR. I gave it CPR. It died in Adam's hand.
It died in my hands.
Oh my God.
And of no physical trauma other than the sheer terror of being run over by a lawnmower.
Okay. First of all, I get the impression that's a sad story, and I have a very similar story which I would like to tell.
You ran over a bunny,
listen,
and then you took a shovel and you cut its head off.
Hold on. So I get this picture in my head as you're telling me this of, you know, in Men in Black where the guy is sitting on the alien guy is sitting on the table, and they like open up his, they like find that button in his ear, and they open up his head,
yeah,
and there's a little alien sitting. Yeah, he's like, the galaxy is on Orion's belt. My brother does a great impression of it. I can't, but that's what I imagine that little baby rabbit to be.
That's
like.
kind of what he was doing.
Yeah, I know. That's sad. That's sad.
I was holding him like this, like with my palms together. Like he was tiny, man.
Yeah,
he was tiny.
And then, did you do an autopsy? Like, how do you know there was no physical trauma on the outside? I mean, there was no physical trauma on the outside, but you could have ripped him to pieces on the inside.
How would I have ripped him to pieces on the inside?
Maybe you got dull mower blades and they just like bludgeoned him instead of cut him.
He sharpens that shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
he had no physical trauma on him. He died from fear,
yeah.
and then I threw him in our woods.
And you felt terrible about it because you Googled it later.
Yeah,
and then sent me the article with the crying face emojis.
I felt bad.
What was the article? Do rabbits die of fear?
Rabbits can die of fear. Yeah, they're one of the most susceptible animals to dying of fear. They're like scaredy cats.
So you're not supposed to get them as pets for children under like 12 or something like that.
Yeah. Public service announcement.
Yeah. So there I was mowing the grass. And
there's a fucking snake. And I cut its head off with a shovel.
Listen, I was mowing the grass. All of, come to think of it, if I lived in a fucking condo, nothing would ever happen to me. All of my shitty stories are from me mowing the grass. Cutting the grass, I got a push mower, pushing up this hill, and just like you, I had some higher than normal grass. This is the beginning of summer. I got my headphones in, and I hear this thump thump as I go up this hill, and I'm like, what? I thought I hit a rock or like the hose or something. So I push forward, and I'm gonna cry. Actually, I mean, this is me laughing to hold back tears. I push forward. All I see is this literal half of a rabbit. Like somebody had like.
Again, you did not kill the rabbit.
But listen, it's still a story. I just
you cut the rabbit in half.
It's the same though. But listen, so all I see. All I see is this. It's like if you took your scared to death rabbit and cut it in half long ways. That's what I saw. But it was still kicking. It was still, and I roll as soon as I see this thing. I again, much like that 14-foot snake that was in my yard, I said, "Oh my fucking god!" at the top of my, and it was so loud that I feel like my headphones were like popping out of my head. That's how like I felt, and Adam, I stood there for no less than 10 minutes thinking like, what am I like? What is life?
Chase,
what am I doing?
You violently killed two animals.
I understand.
I killed an animal with fear. These are remotely not the same thing.
I'm not telling you that this was. This was just a story that I wanted to share to you amongst a friend. Then I could probably say with certainty that if rabbits do die by fear, this one also probably died by fear. It just so happened that I also chopped him in half.
I think it died because you cut it in half. Yeah.
It was the top 5 saddest moments in my life. And I stood there for 10 minutes. I was like, I got to have a fucking funeral. Like, what am I going to do? Like, it's in my yard. Half of it is chopped up all over the place. The other half is perfectly intact but completely open. How do I even get it anywhere to, like, do rabbits, if like, rabbits have diseases where if I touched it and took it into the woods, like, is it going to eat my hands off or something? So I also had a sad rabbit story. That's what I wanted to share with you. Mine was just a bit more grotesque.
Mine was more on topic, but we'll just...
Okay, bringing it back around. Now... I think I have PTSD to let my grass grow too thick in fear that I can't see baby rabbits and I'm going to mow right over them and kill them.
Way to circle back. That was good.
Yeah.
Boom. Just give me time, guys. Give me time. I'll circle back.
So anytime you talk about fear, usually it's not a far leap to phobias, right? It's like an extreme version of fear. So the main difference between experiencing a fear and having a phobia is that fear will be a reaction to an actual danger that subsides once the danger has passed or has been dealt with. But a phobia inflicts physical and mental tension that you feel regardless of if the danger is there to trigger the response.
Right. It's like a phobia of crowds, right?
Right. Anytime you talk about fear, phobias are not far behind, right? And there's all kinds of phobias that are really weird.
Wait, so hold on a second. So does this explain why when I was Googling centipedes that one day to prove to you that they actually bite and this picture of the centipede came up on Google Image and I threw my phone at your face?
Yeah, that would be more of a phobia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't really be mad
Because
at
there
me
wasn't a
about that
centipede
anymore.
there, but just the thought of a centipede
Yeah.
fucking flips you out.
A phobia is basically like a magnified fear, right? It's sort of like a delusion almost, where that centipede can't hurt you, but you're afraid of it for some fucked up reason because it's on Google Images. Like that doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah,
that,
just
that
the
would be a
image
phobia.
of it gives me
Yeah.
like the creepy crawly.
You
like,
have you
I
have a
can't even-
phobia of pictures of centipedes.
So there's all kinds of weird phobias that have all kinds of crazy names that I'll probably butcher as I talk about some of these. No offense to any of the people that actually experience these.
And I think that's where I'm a bit douchey, amongst other ways. But these are debilitating phobias where they sound silly to a person that doesn't have the phobia. But to the person that has this phobia, it's fucked up. Like, it ruins your life. You can't even function as a human. So my apologies for just thinking about this stuff as in light, because I don't think it is.
And some of these I don't even understand, like how terrible your life must be, right? I mean, so like
Yeah.
optophobia is the fear of opening your eyes. Like, how do you even function?
You live like a blind person, I guess.
Yeah, but a blind person doesn't live with their eyes closed.
I know,
Allison.
but like you... No, I know, but I'm saying like you live like you're blind. You keep your eyes closed and live like you're
Wait.
blind.
You guys open your eyes?
You knew
I'm
what
not
I
actually
meant,
fucking
you dick.
blind.
See, this is another example of how Chase is a douche.
I thought I was blind this whole time. I was just scared to open my eyes. I
You.
didn't know people open their eyes.
What's next?
Just a run through of a couple. We got chorophobia, the fear of dancing, gelophobia, the fear of laughter. Hopefully, if anyone has this phobia, you don't listen to Stranger Than
Yeah.
Fiction.
Hopefully you listen to Invisibilia or whatever the hell it is.
No, that's a great podcast, but you have God, this one is so brutal. Arachibutyrophobia is the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth.
Mm. How do you discover a phobia is my question. Like, how do you discover that you have a phobia of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth?
You have it stuck to your mouth and you fucking have a panic attack about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a phobia, but I have a couple fears that are probably appropriate to talk about at this point.
Go ahead.
One of them, sidonglophobia, which is the fear of cotton balls.
Why do you have a fear of cotton balls?
I fucking hate them.
Yeah, but that's not a fear.
The feel of them, like on your skin,
What?
I literally cannot tolerate it.
You remember when I got that cotton swab stuck in my ear in college?
No, I don't. But cotton swabs are okay because they're mini cotton balls attached to a plastic or paper stick, and you can touch that part, and you don't have to touch the cotton part.
I'm so weirded out by this. I don't even... That's not a phobia, first of all.
It is.
You're
It's
not-
called sidonglophobia.
Yeah, but you're not scared of them. You just don't like them.
It causes me physical trauma to think about them
Like
touching
you have
my
a
skin.
visceral reaction, like your skin crawls.
Yes.
Yeah, but...
I'm not saying I have this phobia.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that severe, but that phobia exists, and I'm
Borderline.
further along on that
That's such a
spectrum
s-
than both of you.
You're on the spectrum, for sure. But I don't understand that. Go ahead. What's your other one? That's a weird one, Adam.
So the other one, it doesn't really have a phobia name, but it's called pararesis,
I feel like I've heard of that.
not to be confused with parcopresis.
Parko. Okay, yeah, I would think I was confusing the two.
Probably. Pararesis is the fear of urinating in public.
Oh yeah.
Parcopresis is the fear of pooping in public.
Oh, you can poop in public all damn day.
Yes, I don't have. That's what I'm saying. Don't be confused.
Hold on. Let me dig into this one. So you don't have a fear of pooping in public?
No, I prefer to poop
I-
in public.
Yeah, I know, which is a fucking insane thing in itself.
You don't shit where you eat.
But when you're pooping in public, do you not also pee in tandem? If you're taking a shit in a mall, do you shit and piss like a normal human does every single time they shit?
Yeah, so that's. I guess that's for me. That's different.
Okay.
Because you're in a stall.
I have to go into the stall pretty much to pee in
Yeah.
public. Like the urinals, and if there's other people in there, 99% of the time it ain't gonna happen.
So what do you do, though? Do you pretend like you're
Yes,
peeing?
I will absolutely pretend like I peed. I will wash my hands. I will leave, and I will go to another bathroom, or I will wait an appropriate amount of time, and then I'll go back in.
I do literally the exact same thing. Unless I'm shitty drunk, and then I have no problem, like just both hands up on the fucking wall, just like leaning into the urinal. I have no problem with that. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I will literally like sit there and I'll shake my dick off like I peed and I didn't do anything, and I just walk out, and 15 minutes later, and it's not so weird until you're with people and you have to go pee again in like 10 minutes because now you really have to pee because your body was like, I'm going pee, but you can't pee. And then you leave and you have to piss even harder than you did when you got there.
Yes.
So then 10 minutes later, you're like, oh man, I gotta pee again. Oh,
yep.
ha, 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 ha. And then you gotta hopefully find a fucking stall. And then I don't have a fear, but the germ aspect kicks in for me of shitting in public, because I feel like you can get like AIDS through your butt cheeks or something for some reason. I don't know, like something, I don't know. It's an irrational fear, I think. But so then I always get fearful that people think I'm going into the stall to take a dump. And I'm not. So I just have to go pee.
Is that your other fear? Either
No.
peeing in public or germs?
No, my other fear, I have a fear of dying. That's my other fear.
I feel like you've talked about like 5 other fears that you have.
No.
Besides the alleged one that you had before death.
What were the 5 other fears? Go ahead.
You just talked about you have the same exact problem that I just described, paresis.
I don't think that's
the fear of urinating in public.
It's not a fear for me.
There's literally a name for it.
I understand, but physiologically impossible for me to pee. Like it's not a mental. It's not like
it is
I'm
a mental
going in there
no.
shaking and saying, "Oh my god, I'm so scared to pee." That's not.
It's
the
a
case.
mental thing.
I can push out my brains if I wanted to and try to pee, and I can't. So I'm not fearful of it. I don't walk in there and my legs cripple. I just can't do it.
Even if you're not feeling fear in that traditional sense, there's some kind of stress or anxiety, whether or not you're conscious of those symptoms.
Yeah, but it's physiological at that point.
Yeah, but it's still in your mind, though, so it's
But I feel like it's compartmentalized. I feel like there's 2 different things going on. There's the fear that you in your mind saying, "Oh my god," like riding a roller coaster. This is really fucking scary. This is, that's what goes in your head. But there's the other physiological part of that at some point, and maybe there's a subconscious fear that locks your knees and says, I physically cannot stand in line at this roller coaster. I know I'm not scared. I can go do it right now. I'm excited to do it, but my body is not allowing me to go do it. And that's how I am with peeing.
Yeah, that's a fucking fear, bro.
In my mind, it's not a fear. I'm not scared of it, though.
So you need to define fear in the way that you see it, because I'm not understanding the distinction.
I just told you the distinction.
I know, I really don't understand it, because to me, like, all of that spells out fear. All of that, like, as a therapist, I'd be like, okay, we can unpack that and we can work with that.
Well, that's fine. Fucking unpack it then, because
No, I'm not going to do that. Shit.
Don't unwrap that fucking onion. That's spoiled. No, I feel like you can do some mental foo to get out of your head for fear, but your body still reacts the same way. So to me, it's not a fear for me to walk into the bathroom and go pee, but my body at some point in my amygdala or whatever the fuck is happening is saying, no, bro, nothing's coming out. You're going to stand here like a chump. But to me, that doesn't register as fear. To me, fear is something that registers in your head saying, oh shit, this is bad, or I am scared to do this, or, whatever that may be. But I don't get that. I don't get that sensation.
Or you physically can't do something.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people that have genuine PTSD experience. Like, even if they know that they're safe and they know that everything is fine, they still have this intrusive thought.
But now we're getting into meta again and playing neuroscience. But I don't think PTSD is fear either.
It totally is.
I don't think so.
Look up the definition of PTSD.
Okay, go ahead. Continue on, Adam.
Those are my main fears. But
cotton balls and peeing.
Yes.
Wow, you're a winner.
Well, those are my main weird fears. I don't like clowns. I wouldn't say I have a phobia of clowns, but I don't like clowns. I also, as we talked about, don't like creepy kids.
Yeah.
Those are my main fears.
Wow. Mine are
That's what
so
you wow
much
about? He talked about having a fear of cotton balls. And he mentions creepy kids and clowns, and you're like, wow, fascinating. I think you can be terrified of something and not necessarily fearful of it.
Oh my God, I can't. I fucking can't. Go ahead.
What?
Explain how that's possible.
I could be terrified if somebody jumped down the stairs right now and shouted at me. That would be terrifying. I wouldn't be expecting it, but I would not be fearful of it.
So you're a jumpy motherfucker, but you're not walking around in a perpetual state of anxiety and fear.
Oh, no, I'm like an elephant with a fucking mouse is what my, like, I get terrified very easily, but I don't fear a lot.
Okay.
Maybe that's the way to put it, yeah. I get scared a lot.
But
I'm
you
not
don't have a lot
fearful.
of anxiety, like a general anxiety about things throughout your
No.
life.
You just walk through life oblivious until you're scared.
I would say my fear of snakes is not even a fear of snakes. Like, I could go to a zoo and pet a big fucking snake. So I think it's more scared of snakes than I am fearful of snakes. But my fear of dying is legitimate. Like, that's my, like, I do think a lot about, like, waking up in the morning, or like what if I fall asleep and I don't wake up, and that sort of shit.
What aspect of that is scary to you? Where you go from there, if you go anywhere from there,
No.
leaving your family, like what is it about dying that is scary?
Because I have very little anxiety, and because I have a great wife and a great child and a great life and great friends like you guys, I don't want to leave this earth. And my belief is that you don't go anywhere beyond, if I died in my fucking bed, it's going to stink and I'm going to fucking lie there for eternity. There's no afterlife. There's nothing. So my fear is that I will no longer exist. I will no longer be. And that would suck for me because I really enjoy what I have. And that's my fear.
I mean, that brings up some other interesting aspects of fear and how it's used as a tool in some other ways, like religion, the way that you're talking about. I mean, to me, a lot of religion is about fear in hell or whatever kind of eternal damnation type of equivalent that you believe in. And that fear drives you to ideally be a good person or do good things.
Pay the kitty every Sunday.
So you can avoid that bad experience. To me, it's all about fear.
The whole world is based on fear mongering, right? Like everything that we do. Oh my God, the economy's gonna go to shit. What if the economy goes to shit? What if I lose my house? What if I lose my job? What if I get in a car accident? Everything that we do in life is based on fear.
I mean, more or less.
Yeah.
Politics, a lot of fear mongering in politics. You have advertising. Allison was listening to a podcast.
Another podcast, Man in the Window.
What the fuck?
This particular podcast was, like, she was listening to it on speaker, so I heard some of it. It was about this murderer guy
murder guy
invading people's homes and like raping and killing women or whatever. So you have these stories about this dude that was doing all this bad shit, invading homes, raping, killing people. And then you have a nice little break and then an ad for Simply Safe.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like, oh, you can have this home security and you can prevent murder and rape. Call us
I think
up.
there's a difference between fear mongering and actual, like, this guy's murdering people. There are people murdering and raping people. Like, I think there's a distinguishing factor between, like, the way that religion and politics use fear and the way that advertising uses fear. Because if you're talking about, like, a heart disease medication or a high blood pressure medication, and they say, well, you're going to fucking die if you don't go on this medication, that's a fact. If you don't have a home security system, there are people that are going to rape, pillage, and murder you.
Hold on. You're saying if you don't have a home security system, you're going to get raped and pillaged?
No, I'm not saying that.
That's what you just. That's literally
You're
what
more
you
Simply
susceptible,
Safe.
I think, is what he's saying.
No, I'm saying that there are actual people out there that are doing this. It does convince you a little bit to buy a home security system, where, like, the fear mongering that I'm talking about is like, well, Russia's got nuclear weapons. They're going to shoot them over to the United States. That's the type of fear mongering. Or China, blah, 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 whatever, the type of fear mongering that's used in politics and religion, especially if you don't go to church every Sunday and live by this strict book of rules, you're going to go to hell. That's not happening. Yeah, so they're basically instilling this false sense of fear or this false situation in your head to instill the fear to force you to do something. But you can make your own call with advertising, because there are things like, if you don't take this high blood pressure medicine, there is a large chance that you will fucking die of a heart attack. That's just a fact. But there's a very, very small chance that Russia is going to send all their nuclear fucking weapons over here. But you'll still vote for whoever you're going to vote for because of that fear.
Sure. The point there is that fear is used in many different ways to either drive a certain behavior or reaction.
But then it's interesting, though, because on the flip side, we love to be afraid.
No.
Right? I mean, we're coming up on Halloween.
Some people.
I mean, we do, like roller coasters and haunted houses and all the things that we enjoy around this time of year are all somewhat based in fear.
Yeah,
so
but,
what's all that about?
Don't you think that I don't think there's a direct correlation between a love of roller coasters and that love being the love of fear, right? Like you could love roller coasters because of the excitement that it gives you.
Right. But I think that on some level it comes from the same place, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that there's been some studies that have said that your body can release different neurotransmitters that, while you're afraid, that can cause pleasure. So yeah, whether it be a haunted house, a scary movie, a roller coaster, it can trigger that kind of similar to like an arousal state, not necessarily sexual, but happy, laughing, excited. It's just like the same chemical signatures as when you're scared. It's just like a different context.
I think once you recognize what fears you have, I think you can become a bit neurotic with trying to overcome those fears. I think I've done that in my life a lot where, peeing in public is one of those where it begins with, I can't even fucking go into the bathroom, and then you sort of work through it in your own brains. And I think that's the creativity of humanity, is being able to work through some of these fears, as some of them are very irrational, the phobias especially, but with the understanding that there are chemical imbalances that do really fuck with you. I think it's okay to be fearful. I think I'm still going to be scared of snakes after this. I'm still going to close my eyes and be fearful that I'm not waking up in the morning. So I do a shitty job at convincing myself that I can overcome the fear. But it's an interesting topic, and the brain, I think we've talked about the brain on a few episodes of the podcast, and I think it all stems from, the brain being just this interesting amalgamation of shit that's going on that nobody can figure out.
Yeah, I think that's where I was going to go with my thought as well, is that, over a lot of the episodes, whether it be time or Mandela effect, we've kind of talked about how the brain can do crazy fucking shit. And to me, fear is one of the most useful things that it does. And like anything else, it can be exploited or manipulated. But at its core, your brain is trying to keep you alive. And, obviously I like being alive. Yeah. So I'll continue avoiding clowns and creepy kids and cotton balls.
That's a good list to avoid.
Thanks a lot for listening. Stranger Than Fiction was created by Chase Ferris, Allison Davila, and me, Adam Davila. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and telling your friends. If you'd like to help support our show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/STFTalk. For more information about the show, additional content, and to learn a little bit more about us, check out our website at stftalk.com. You can also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We love hearing from you. If you have a topic in mind or would like to be a guest on our show, send us a message. Our email address is strange@stftalk.com.